Before we start the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. It helps us create quality content for you. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Enjoy.
I woke up strapped to a table in a room that hummed, with an energy I could feel in my teeth. There was no smell, no breeze, no sound, except for that low, vibrating hum that settled deep in my bones. My first thought was a dumb one. I wondered if I was late for work. Then the memories trickled in like oil through cloth. The alley behind my apartment, the flash of light, the floating feeling. Gone. I opened my eyes slowly. Everything was too clean, too white, too precise. Even the light had no source. It just existed like the walls and the ceiling and the air. The restraint on my wrist was smooth and cold, not metal, not plastic, something else. Then came the voice, cold, clinical, not from a mouth but from everywhere. Subject is awake. I turned my head. There were 3 of them behind a transparent panel. One was taller than the others, its head narrow and too long, like someone had pulled it like taffy. All of them had skin the color of ash and eyes that never blinked. They had no mouths, but I could hear them. Human specimen displays rapid consciousness recovery. Vital signs stable. Begin baseline assessment. They thought I couldn't hear them, or maybe they didn't care. I tested the restraints. No. Give. I laughed. A dry rasp, more air. Then sound that got their attention. One of them twitched its head. Subject exhibits emotional irregularity. Explain your reaction. You abduct me, strap me to a table and call that irregular. I said, buddy, this is a Tuesday compared to some of my days. They stared, not blinking, not moving, just absorbing. The tall one stepped forward. It held something small and black in one hand, or what I assumed was a hand. No fingers, just a shape that molded around the object. This is a calibrated nociceptive stimulus applicator. It will induce controlled pain responses for data acquisition, so a fancy taser. I said, got it. There was a pause. Then, initiating test. I felt nothing for a second. Then came the heat, not on the skin, but inside it, like my bones were on fire. I bit down hard on instinct, grunted, but I didn't scream, not yet. They watched, took notes or whatever passed for notes in this place. Pain tolerance exceeds expected threshold. Recalibrate stimulus level. The second wave was sharper, more focused. My arm jerked. Still no scream. I forced myself to look at them. I wanted them to see my eyes. You think pain breaks people, I said through gritted teeth. It builds them too. One of them tilted its head. Clarify. You don't know anything about us, I said. You think we're weak because we bleed easy and cry loud? You ever seen a mother bury a child and still wake up the next day? You ever seen a firefighter walk into flames for a stranger? Silence. Then initiate cognitive probe. The world shimmered. The walls melted into something else. I saw my father's face. He was on the porch the day he died, his hands trembling but still reaching for his coffee. I saw the scar on my brother's cheek, the one he got when he protected me from a dog twice our size. Memories not just shown but felt, twisted, pushed. I screamed then, not from pain but from fury. You do not touch that, I shouted. You don't get to use my life like a science project. One of the aliens staggered back. Its body flickered. Maybe it didn't expect resistance. Maybe they thought the probe would tame me. It didn't. I breathed hard. Sweat poured down my neck. But I smiled. They saw it. Subject's emotional resilience remains high. Data inconsistent with prior specimens. That word specimens, I clenched my jaw. How many of us have you taken, I asked. They didn't answer. Another probe began. This one tried to mimic grief loss. They showed me my mother's funeral, twisted the memory, made her eyes open. In the casket, made her blame me. I laughed louder this time. They flinched. I buried her myself. I said, nothing you show me hurts more than the truth already did. I realized something then. They didn't understand pain. Not really. To them it was a measurable response, an equation. To us it was life. It was the price of love and war and hope and failure. They thought they'd find limits. They found the reason we survive. The tall one moved again. Escalate testing sequence. The lights dimmed. A new machine entered silent, floating. It had arms with needles and blades and coils that glowed. "You want to see what breaks me?" I said. "You better hope you never find it." The machine approached. It hesitated. They didn't. But I did. I closed my eyes, not in fear. In focus, I remembered the time I pulled shrapnel from my own thigh with a pair of pliers, the time I held my dying friend's hand until he stopped shaking, the time I stitched a wound with fishing line in a rainstorm. The machine touched. My skin-white light heat screams. Not mine systems flickered. One of the aliens dropped, convulsing. The machine sputtered. I looked at my arm. Still intact. "You connected that thing to my nervous system." I said. "But you forgot? We turn pain into adrenaline." Another. Thalian stumbled backward. The room shook. Some kind of alarm. I yanked hard. The restraint cracked. Not all the way, but enough. "You wanted a test subject," I said. "You got a lesson instead." The door opened behind me. Another figure stepped in. Shorter, different. Eyes not blank, not cruel, just curious. It didn't speak, but I felt something pity. Or maybe I locked eyes with it, then with the others. "You study pain," I said, "but you forgot what it does to us. It makes us dangerous." They didn't respond. They didn't have to. I saw it in the way they stepped back, the way their heads tilted, not in calculation, but in caution. I smiled. This time not for them. For me. I wasn't broken. I was forged. Let them regret what they started. They'd earned that much, and I was just getting started. The little one followed me. Its steps were silent, its eyes wide and silver. It didn't speak, but it didn't run either. Not like the others, not like the ones who had seen what I could take, and still thought I was a puzzle they could solve. I didn't. Ask its name, it wouldn't have mattered. They probably catalogued themselves by numbers and equations, not that I cared. The room I escaped to looked like a cross between a hospital and a server farm, pulsing lights, cables hanging like vines, everything, cold and humming. The little one pointed toward a panel. A glowing blue circle pulsed in the wall. Some kind of interface. I stepped close. The panel hissed and opened. Another room, empty, dim. I stepped inside. The door sealed behind us. It watched me. I watched it. "You helping me out of curiosity or guilt?" I asked. Silence. I sat down on the floor. My body ached. Burns along my side, wrists raw. But I wasn't done. "Name's Jack, by the way," I said. "Not that you asked." The little one tilted its head. Still, no voice. But the lights on its shoulder blinked in a sequence like it was thinking or trying to mimic me. Then the pain hit again. Not from the machines this time, from memory. My skin twitched like it still remembered the fire. My nerves screamed. Their protest. But I didn't flinch. They had tried to tear me open layer by layer to see what made me tick, and all they found was steel under skin. I remembered the tall one, the lead, its face blank, when it said escalate testing. Like pain was just a knob to twist, not a force with consequences. I bet they never imagined the test subject would make them flinch. The little one tapped the wall. A screen flickered on video feeds. Dozens, hundreds, other humans, other cells, some screaming, some silent, some. Limpy I stood. "How many?" I asked. No answer. But the screen spoke loud enough. They were doing this everywhere. I felt the rage rise again. Not wild, not hot-cold. Focused like a knife. I wasn't special. Just first to push back hard enough. But I wouldn't. Be the last. I turned to the little one. "You want to help me," I said. "Then show me the way to the ones in charge." The lights blinked again. Then the wall shifted. A panel slid aside, revealing a corridor. Dim lights. Pale green glow along the floor. No. Alarms. No voices. We moved me in front. It close behind. I didn't trust it, but I didn't have the luxury of choices. At the end of the corridor was a chamber. Not a lab. Something older. Round walls. High ceiling. Symbols etched into the floor inside 4. Of them not guards, scientists or commanders. Maybe one turned, its eyes flickered. "You should not be here," it said. "Neither should your hands be on our nerves." I said, "It took a step forward. No weapons. Just arrogance. You are a research subject." It said, "Your reactions are valuable to our understanding of pain response." "You think I'm reacting?" I said. "No, I'm choosing." It stared. Another one moved beside it. "You have resisted more than expected." It said, "Your species is anomalous. You experience pain but continue to function. This is not typical among sentient life." "Maybe you've been studying the wrong species," I said. The first one leaned in. "We want to understand how this trait evolved. Your tolerance, your aggression, your defiance, you." "Want to understand," I said. "Then start here. We don't tolerate pain, we weaponize it." One of them reached for a console. I didn't let it finish. I lunged. My hand closed around its wrist or whatever it was. It was colder than I expected. "Brittle it." Screeched high-pitched, the others froze. "You don't get to poke and prod and call it science," I said. "This is what it feels like when your subject fights back." The little one stood still. No reaction, no interference. The alien fell back. Its arm bent. "Wrong, I didn't care. Shut it down," I said. They hesitated. I stepped forward. Now one of them moved to the wall, touched a panel. The screens changed. I saw the cells again. Doors opening. Humans stepping out. Some stumbling, some limping, all free. You think. "Pain is a weakness," I said. "But you've never bled for something you love. You've never held on through agony just to spite the thing trying to break you." They said nothing. I wasn't talking for them. I was talking for me. For every human on are those screens. For every time we cried and kept moving anyway, you're done experimenting. I said, "Now you're going to remember what we are." I turned. The little one followed. We walked through the corridor again. This time alarms were flashing. Not because I triggered them. Because the system was unraveling, the freed humans were moving. Some fighting, some escaping chaos, blooming. Good, we earned it. I reached what looked like a control hub. Dozens of panels, lights flashing, warnings blaring. I found. A chair collapsed into it. Pain came rushing back in waves. I let it. It meant I was alive. The little one stood beside me, still silent. "Why did you help?" I asked. No answer. "Not important," I said. "But if you ever end up on Earth, bring a helmet, we bite." Back it blinked once, then vanished into the corridor. I sat there watching the walls pulse, the hum of the ship different now, less steady, like it knew something was wrong. I leaned back, closed my eyes for a second. Not sleep, just stillness. The kind you get after surviving something that should have ended you. And somewhere deep in the ship, a voice echoed over the system. "Subject 0 has breached core protocol. Containment compromised. All stations report." I smiled. "Subject 0, I like that." Then I stood, cracked my neck, and walked back into the fire. The corridors were different now. No longer sterile, no longer humming with smug confidence. They pulsed like veins under pressure. Doors that once slid open with precision now stuttered or stayed sealed shut. Sparks hissed from panels. A siren started and stopped, like the ship was trying to make up its mind whether to panic. I moved fast, not because I had a plan, because I had momentum. The kind pain gives you when you decide not to fall down. I passed a window, saw space stretch wide and black beyond. The hull felt nothing, not fear, not awe, just the cold understanding that I was far from home with no guarantee I'd ever get back. But I wasn't alone. I turned a corner and nearly ran into them. 3 humans, 2 women, and a man. All looked like they hadn't slept in days. One limped. The other held a metal rod like it was the only thing between her and losing her mind. They froze when they saw me. Wide eyes, feral stance. "You're not one of them," the man said. "Nope," I said. "Just the guy who broke the locks." The woman with the rod stepped closer. "You did this." "I started it," I said. "Now we finish it." She looked me over. My burns, the dried blood, the scars still fresh and still raw. Her eyes softened. A little. "Name's Marla," she said. "This is Dean, and that's Kira, Jack," I said. "Nice to meet you under the worst possible circumstances." Dean nodded. "I don't know how many of us are out, but it's spreading. Cells are empty. Security's thinned out. They weren't ready for this. They thought pain would keep us still. I said, they forgot pain teaches us to move. Kira was quiet, but her eyes never stopped scanning Smart. We're heading to what looks like a shuttle bay, Marla said. If we can get off this thing, we can figure out where we are. I looked at her, then at the rod in her hand. You ready to fight your way through? She didn't smile, just nodded. Good, I said, because they're not done trying to control us. The lights flickered again. The floor trembled. I felt it. The shift in the air. The way predators feel before a storm, they weren't giving up. They were regrouping. We moved together now. 4 broken people, each carrying something the aliens never planned for. Grit, rage, purpose. We passed more cells, some open, some not. I slammed fists into control panels, watched doors hiss open and more survivors stumble out. Some blinked in disbelief. Others dropped to their knees. Some just started walking without a word. No one cried. No one begged. Pain had done its work. Now we were something else. One of the doors opened and a man rushed out. He tackled me to the wall, hands at my throat. Eyes wild, Marla raised her rod, but I held up a hand. I'm not one of them, I gasped. His grip loosened. He stepped back, chest heaving. I thought, he began, then stopped. No, sorry, I thought you were another test. You're not alone anymore, I said. They lost control. We take it from here, he nodded, then looked around. Name's Chris, lead the way. More joined us. 8, 10, 15. Became a mob. Not wild, not chaotic, focused. They tried to stop us. A squad of tall ones rounded a corner. Armed this time, long staff-like weapons that crackled with energy. They raised them. So did we. Metal pipes, broken panels. Our fists. The first blast hit. Dean, he dropped. Not dead, stunned, Kira screamed. She leapt forward, drove a pipe into the nearest alien's gut. It howled. I charged the next, took the hit, felt every nerve in my chest explode. I stayed up, grabbed its throat, squeezed until it stopped moving. The rest followed. It was not clean. It was not heroic. It was raw. Desperate human. We won. Dean woke a minute later, groaned. That sucked. You're alive, I said. That's the bar now. We reached the shuttle bay. Massive doors, closed tight. The control panel was busted, not broken, destroyed. Someone didn't want us getting out. Chris examined the system. Give me 5 minutes, he said. I can rig a bypass. You've done this before, I said. I was a systems engineer back home. Figures, I said. Every nightmare. Needs a hacker. He worked fast, fingers shaking but precise. The rest of us stood watch, eyes on the halls, ears tuned for footsteps. I looked at Marla. She had blood on her cheek, not hers. Her grip never loosened on the rod. How long were you in? I asked. Don't. No, she said. Time doesn't work the same in there, just pain, then nothing, then more pain. They'll regret what they did to us, I said. They already do. The panel sparked. Chris cursed, then grinned. Doors opening. The bay hissed. Metal screamed. Light poured in inside 3 ships, a small, sleek one already primed. Pick one. Chris said. People rushed forward, not in panic, in hope. Then the siren changed tone, not a warning, a roar. I turned, the tall one, the lead researcher. It stood at the end of the hall, behind it dozens more. You should have died, it said. You should have listened, I replied. It raised a hand. Power crackled, but it didn't fire. It hesitated. I stepped forward. I want you to remember this, I said. Pain doesn't break us. It makes us remember why we fight. Then I threw the pipe straight hard. It hit the lead one square in the chest. It staggered, didn't fall, but it stepped back. That was enough. The rest of us surged into the ships. I grabbed the controls. Didn't know what I was doing, didn't care. The ship lifted. The walls shook. Then we launched out of the bay into the dark behind us. The station lit up with internal fires. Alarms screamed, and I swear, for just 1 second, I heard the lead one shout. Not in command, but in fear. Good, we were coming back someday, not as subjects, as a warning. Space wasn't quiet. It wasn't peaceful. It screamed in its own way. The engines roared under us. The controls buzzed with every adjustment, and in the back of my head was a pressure like a storm, just waiting to break. I sat in the pilot's seat. Didn't know the first thing about flying, but instincts kicked in. The same instincts that let humans jump into oceans before they could swim, climb cliffs before they could fall, break their own bones just to punch harder. Chris was beside me. His hands danced. Across the panel, reading alien glyphs like they made sense. "This thing's got an autopilot," he said. "We're lucky." "I don't believe in luck," I said. "Just consequences." Behind us, the others were quiet, tired eyes hollow. Marla sat near the hatch, her rod laid across her lap. She hadn't let go of it since the lab's Kira patched Dean's arm. It looked bad, burned deep. He grunted with every movement but never complained. I watched them, not as survivors. As something else changed, sharpened. We weren't just getting away, we were becoming something they didn't expect. The result of their experiment gone wrong. Marla looked at me. "Where do we go?" "Wherever they don't want us to," I said. Chris pointed at a blinking light. "This ship's got a short range drive, not enough to get us home, but enough to jump into nearby systems. I think I can find a planet or outpost." "Then do it," I said. The ship jolted. Lights dimmed. We felt the shift, like falling without gravity. When it ended, we were somewhere new, a field of stars, a dull orange planet below. No signals, no interference. Chris exhaled. "Looks uninhabited, but breathable atmosphere. We can land." The others didn't cheer. No one smiled. Hope was a slow-burning thing now, as the ship descended the silence, stretched. Then Marla spoke. "I had a daughter." The words hit like a bullet. Her name was Lainey. She liked building things, used to take apart the toaster just to see if she could put it back together. I didn't ask what happened. I knew we all did. "They took that from me," she said. "And I don't know if I'll ever get it back, but I'm going to make sure they never take that from anyone again." Kira looked up. "I was a medic before this, worked trauma wards. We saw pain, but nothing like what they did. They made it cold efficient." Dean leaned his head back. "They thought we were soft, that just because we scream we're weak. They never saw what happens after the screaming stops." I nodded. "They saw pain as a tool. We see it as a teacher. We learned. Now they will too." The ship touched down. Dust swirled outside the viewport. The surface looked like a desert, but it was a place to breathe, a place to think. We stepped out one by one. The wind hit us. Warm, dry, it felt like being reborn. We made a camp. Simple, temporary. Chris rigged the ship's systems to send a distress signal. Just in case someone out there was listening, Marla stood watch, her rod across her shoulders. I sat on a rock, looked up at the stars. Somewhere above us, that ship was still, spinning, still bleeding. Still afraid. They didn't just lose control. They created something they couldn't contain. I thought of the little one, the one who helped me. It wasn't in the shuttle, didn't follow us. Maybe it couldn't. Maybe it wasn't meant to. But part of me wondered if it knew, if it saw something in us they missed. Dean walked over, dropped beside me. "You think they'll come after us again?" I nodded. "Absolutely." "Then what do we do?" "We make them regret it." He smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind soldiers share after surviving hell. The wind shifted, brought the scent of dry metal and dust. Marla walked toward us. "There's movement," she said. We stood a ship low on the horizon, not one of theirs, sleek, angular, old Chris. Scanned it. Not alien, not ours either. Could be a scavenger ship or an old relay craft. I stepped forward. If they're friendly, we ask for help. If not, we remind them who we are. The ship landed slow. Dust kicked up, a hatch opened. A figure stepped. Out, human older. Wearing a patched uniform, they raised a hand. "We picked up your signal," they said. "You folks need rescue." Chris laughed. Not a happy sound. "A broken kind." I nodded. "Yeah, we need rescue, but more than that, we need to warn you. Warn us." The pilot asked. I looked at the stars. They're out there, still experimenting, still probing, still thinking they can control pain without cost. The pilot's face hardened. "You're not the first to say that. Then maybe we're not too late." We boarded the new ship. It wasn't big, wasn't armed, but it was something else. It was a voice, a chance to speak the truth. We told them everything on the way, what the aliens did, how they studied us, how they broke us, and how we broke them back. The pilot listened silent the whole time. At the end, they said one thing: they're going to regret this back at Earth, or what was left of it. The story spread. At first, they called us liars, then survivors. Then warnings. They didn't understand what we brought. Back, not technology. Not weapons, a lesson. You can only press the human spirit so far before it pushes back harder. The aliens stopped their studies, or at least they tried to hide them. But we had faces now. Names, voices. We weren't subjects. We were scars, walking upright. Proof that pain doesn't break humanity, it reveals it. Marla joined a resistance. Kira became the lead of an interstellar trauma corps. Dean trained others to fight. Chris built systems to find others like us. And me, I kept the name. They gave me on that station Subject Zero. Not because it was a label, because it was a promise. The first of many. We are the ones they couldn't control. We are the reason they flinch when they speak the word human. We are what happens when you study pain and forget that pain remembers you too. So if they ever come again, let them bring all their tools, their labs, their theories. We'll bring the one thing they never understood.